What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host, and today we are going to teach you how to check if your restoration company is listed on Google. Now, a lot of you guys out there, I've been guilty of this myself. Probably go to Google a little bit obsessively and try to find yourself or find, we try to find our clients, make sure things are healthy. So if you're going to Google every single day, and trying to type in water damage restoration or mold removal in your city, and then pouring through the results on Google and you're not finding your site, or if you do, it's deep down. Today, I'm going to show you an easy trick on how you can just find to see if your company's listed on Google and indexed properly. And if it is, to make sure that the metadata is displaying correctly to make sure Google knows how to index your website. So we all know the process of getting your site ranked on Google has everything to do with SEO. So if you're a restoration contractor, there's a good chance that you've either done SEO yourself or you've hired an agency to do SEO, or like a lot of guys, you've hired a bunch of different agencies to do SEO for you, and it's become kind of a nasty three-letter word. We'll get to that at another time, how important SEO is, no matter what kind of experience you've had. And hopefully with these episodes of the Restoration Rundown that we're going to be running on digital marketing, you're going to start to understand how SEO should be playing a huge part in your restoration company, as the nature of search and how people are finding businesses is changing every single day. So today we're going to show you a really easy trick on how to check if your restoration company is listed on Google, so you can either fix it, or you can give your agency a call that's doing your SEO and give them hell. So the first thing you're going to do, we use something called site search, right? So what you do is you go to google.com and you're going to type in the letters SITE with a colon and then put in your full website URL. So for me, it was ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. It shows you, so what this does is it actually shows you only the search results that Google has indexed for your website. So if you see this, when you see the Google search results, when I type this in, the site ironcladrestorationmarketing.com, I only see my website. And from here, you can take a look at a few things. So if you do that for your website and you don't see yourself, it'll say no results found. That means your site is not indexed on Google. That means if you're using an agency, something's going wrong. Now, it may be an error, or it may just be they're not doing the right thing for you, because we all know SEO is such an ambiguous term, that a lot of these guys use it to their advantage to kind of take advantage of the restoration industry. So if you are doing SEO and you're not finding your website, then you need to pick up the phone and call whoever's managing your digital marketing. But if you do find your website, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so these are different pages on my website and where they're ranking. Over here, you'll see that in the results, you can see how your site is displayed, right? So it's going to show things like your site title and your metadata, which is basically the ranking URL, which is ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. That's my homepage. That's what's ranking first. Then you have your site title, or the page title of that ranking URL, right? And then the meta description of what we do. Okay. So if you do this, you do the site search your website, and you find yourself there, great, right? So now what you can do is kind of a health check. So you can make sure that your ranking URL should be fine, but you can make sure that your site title and your site description, or the page description, accurately displays what you want it to. A lot of times, in my digital marketing agency, we work with restoration contractors all over the US. And one of the things we do, for all of our social media followers, anybody that kind of reads the book or whatever, is we offer free video analyses. And one of the things we do is we check this first. And a lot of times we find that either their site's not being indexed, so they're spending money on SEO and somebody's not doing something right, or it is being indexed, but they have inaccurate information in the description of what they do. It could be inaccurate or just not there. This just takes a little back end work. And then maybe the site title's wrong and, different things. And we take it a little deeper from there, but we see it all the time. I mean, we have clients now that were with previous agencies that were, paying a lot of money for SEO and digital marketing. And when we did a video analysis, like, their site wasn't even indexed. All right. So what do you do if you don't find any results? Well, if you're doing this stuff yourself, there's really the best tool that you can use is using Google Search Console. All right. So if your site's not showing up, there's sometimes going to be issues with crawling and indexing. Now, I'll take a step back, and we've had instances with clients where we're doing everything by the book, where we've built the site, it's converting. I mean, it's great. And Google's just not indexing the pages properly. And then it takes a little bit of technical work to break through there, but it does happen. So, if you don't find yourself, we're not trying to throw your agency under the bus, or if you have an in-house marketing person, there could be a lot of issues that are affecting this. But you can do a really easy check on your own by going to Google Search Console. And there's a little section here. Here's results for one of our clients. There's a little section here where you can submit your sitemap. And from the back end of your website, the sitemap is basically the whole entire map of every single page of your site and how they link together. And Google needs that because that's how they crawl your website. So every single time you add new content, you should be resubmitting your sitemap, or you can actually go into individual pages that you've added. You can take it a step further in console when you get a little more savvy with it, and you'd actually request indexing on certain pages. From there, you can make sure that your sitemap has been submitted properly. Okay. You want to submit your basic XML sitemap. You can do all of your different posts, your blogs, whatever the case may be, but you have to make sure those things are indexed properly and submitted. And then from there, you can actually check each URL. That's just to make sure. The first step would be to make sure that you've actually submitted your sitemap, or your agency has. And if they have, then you got to take it the next step and kind of start sniffing around a little bit to find out why your site's not being indexed. But this is an amazing tool for you to be able to check, hey, let's hold some people accountable. If you're paying, somebody to do digital marketing, it's not cheap. We know that. So this is a way you can hold them accountable. This is also a way, it might save you a little time. If you're one of those guys that goes on to Google every single day to find out where your site's ranking, this might save you a little time, especially if you're not getting the results that you feel like you should be getting. But remember, no matter who your agency is, it's going to take some time to start ranking your website on page 1 of Google. There's over 200 ranking factors. And one of the big ones is you have a lot of competition in your industry. So, you have to be patient, but at the same time, if you've gone 3 or 4 months and you're not seeing any movement on your keywords, then you have bigger issues, whether you have an inept agency or there just may be some technical issues on the back end of your website that have nothing to do with your agency. Google Search Console is a great way to check that. So you got to remember, let's use the site : my website. So not my website, but you put your website after site : in a Google search bar, and that's going to show you how your site's displayed on Google. You want to make sure that your metadata is accurate and more so there. So that's your ranking page URL, your meta description, because that's where you could put keywords and really dive into what you do. That's how Google reads your site. You want to make sure that it's accurate. If it's not, you got to log into the back end of your website. And if you're doing it yourself, you should have an SEO plugin. It just makes it really easy. And within that plugin, you can do all the setup very easily for the on page. So you can look at each individual page, put in your own meta description, your own title, everything you want Google to read on how they want to rank that page, or contact your agency right away. Okay. So if your site is not being indexed, then whatever you're paying them to do is not working. Right. So you need to get a hold of that. And that's a big problem we see a lot is, a lot of guys out there, they're really good restorers. They're, pillars in the industry. But when it comes to certain things like digital marketing, they kind of stick their head in the sand and hope that it works. And, that's what causes you to bounce around from agency to agency. And more so, that's what causes you to just throw money out the window. So you need to have your fingers on the pulse of this. So if you're not ranking, you don't show up in that site : contact your agency right away. If you're doing it yourself, or if you need to teach your agency, you go right into Google Search Console, get familiar with Google Search Console. We'll make another podcast about that soon, just kind of an overview of how that works. Submit your sitemap, make sure all that's healthy, make sure there's no mobile issues, make sure that each one of the URLs are being crawled, just make sure you're healthy from that perspective, and then check it periodically. Just like you should be talking to your agency on a quarterly, monthly, whatever your situation is, you need to make sure that you have a good handle on this stuff, or it will get out of hand and you will be wasting money. If you guys have any questions about how SEO works or any of this stuff with digital marketing, I implore you to head over to our website at ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. Download our free internet marketing checklist. This is a checklist that we use for every one of our clients. It takes you through from top to bottom, just a basic checklist of things you need to make sure you have in place for your business if you want to get leads from the internet. I just released a revised edition of my book, The No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. That is available on Amazon. And like I said in some previous videos, I'm doing a giveaway right now. I've got a few author copies, and I'd love to send them to you absolutely free of charge. I just need to know your address. So whatever you're watching this on, whether you're streaming us on one of the podcasts or you're watching us on YouTube or you're LinkedIn or you're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case may be, get in touch with us. Make sure you're subscribing, you're following us on all these different channels, and just shoot us a message and ask, and we'll go ahead and send you a copy of this book right out while I have them now. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Restoration Rundown podcast. Hopefully, I shed a little bit of light on how you can check to see if your site is being indexed on Google properly. If you have any questions, give us a shout. We'll talk to you soon.